welcome to the Lowdown Mortgage Podcast, the show where we dive deep into the topics that directly impact the evolving originator. I'm your host, Connor Bartley. Bam! And joining me today is someone who has built his career around consistency, coaching, and helping others grow both on and off the field, whether that's through mentoring young athletes or developing strong business relationships. He brings a thoughtful perspective on process, prospecting, and long-term growth that I think a lot of loan officers will relate to. So Greg Raymer, welcome to the Lowdown.
Thank you, Connor. Man, I hope I can live up to that.
Yeah, absolutely you can, man.
What an intro.
Well, it's been great getting to know you and just kind of leading up to this, talking and just learning a little bit more about you and all the involvement that you've had in different things. And I'll start with this. Like, what are the things that stood out to me? Because in this industry, I guess statistically, people are changing jobs, like every 3, 4 years, things like that. And you've been a very stable, you know, person from place to place. What has influenced that decision to kind of stay the course rather than maybe kind of chase this or that and make frequent moves that we see a lot out there in the industry? Because I know you probably get offers, right?
Sure. Like anybody. I would love to give some deeply thoughtful answer that makes me look way more analytical than I really am. My first stop was sheer luck that I landed at a great place where I could learn and develop and just be as a loan officer for 17 years. And it's a great bank to this day. And who knows? I mean, had an area manager position been available there when I decided to leave and join Gateway back in 2017, I mean, maybe I'm still there. I don't know, but it was a great mortgage company, just like where I am now. And I've always kind of thought that as I learned more about this industry and matured in the industry, one thing I've learned is that nobody's perfect. No company's perfect. And I think no matter where you look to go or where you may land, there's always going to be something you could nitpick about the company you're working for. And my approach to where I work is whatever issues I come up with that, I think need to be discussed internally, ways we can get better. Can we work through those? And if we can work through those, then it makes the most sense for me to be committed to where I am, be in with both feet and try and make the most of it. And just honestly, Connor, I think fortunately for me, I've been two great places. I don't know how to say it any better than that.
Yeah, I love that, man. And I love the call out to just sort of having the hard conversations and being willing to vocalize that and speak with leadership at the company and work through those things. At the end of the day, I think the most successful relationships are true partnerships where everyone's just being honest with one another and sort of vocalizing when they get a little frustrated with this and can we fix that? And yeah, no relationship out there is ever fully perfect, right? And so I think it's a great call out. Now there's another part to your story that I thought was really interesting, and that's just sort of your connection with baseball. And
Wow.
I know when we first sort of started exchanging messages, like you let me know that you were going to be in my neck of the woods to watch some games, and then I later found out that they were kids that you coached that were playing college ball, and so I think that it's really cool. There's a lot of parents out there, and big shout out to the parents that volunteer to coach their kids' teams, right? I've been there myself too with volleyball. I knew nothing about the sport, but that's a big that's a big responsibility, and it takes a certain type of leader to stay engaged with that. What did that experience teach you about how you approach leadership and relationships in business today?
Well, so baseball is a huge part of my life. I appreciate this question, honestly, because I think back to everything I've learned through team sports that spans the boundaries of sport and goes into really any industry you want to work in. There are things learned from being a part of a team that you can take anywhere. And I never really saw myself being a baseball coach, but fortunately, I had a son who fell in love with the game, and I guess I just have a hard time sitting on the sidelines if I know that I can help. And so got to teach him the game. And fortunately, some of the kids he got to play with have really developed into great young baseball players and are getting an opportunity to play on a big stage now. And I think being a part of their development, now don't get me wrong, they're really good baseball players, not because of Greg Raymer. But getting to be a little bitty piece of their development. Maybe there was some instance that happened to me when I was a player that I could help coach them through, or maybe there was some mechanical issue that they may have been struggling with that at some point in time I could have helped them with and did. And now they've just gone on to grow in the game and achieve. And I think at work, it's a lot the same way, right? Like, sure, could I help take an LO from scratch, having never originated a loan before, and teach them all the lessons and all the things that I know and see what they develop into? The work is ultimately done by them. Or if I'm working with a very seasoned LO, can I maybe pick up something about their process that could be a little bit more efficient, or could I have a conversation with them about a product or how to approach a certain lead type or referral partner type that they may want to try in their conversations? Something you can sort of free up to give them the confidence to move forward and continue to build. Like, that work is not me. That work is them. The achievement is theirs. The joy I got from being a baseball coach was in seeing these kids achieve something for themselves. The joy I get in being a mortgage originator is seeing someone achieve homeownership, seeing my referral partners win. And the joy I get in being a producing manager is seeing our LOs achieve on a level that's greater than anything they've experienced before.
Yeah, that's wonderful, man. And I can only imagine that some of this might have to do with just your background in sports. But when we were talking about just structure within the week and the activities and things like that, like you talked about having a weekly structure on
Mhm.
where each day has a specific focus with, follow-up calls to the database or working on prospecting, different things like that. Like, how did you develop that rhythm, and what has that structure, like, what kind of impact has that structure had on things?
How did I develop it? Probably a lot through osmosis over time, getting to rub shoulders with some people who are quite honestly a heck of a lot better than this than I was at the time, and maybe still are. But I think there's little things that you can just pick up from really good producers. Monday before noon, what's life like for you at work every day? And, what are these conversations like? Okay, what's the rest of the week look like? When are you scheduling this? When are you making these phone calls? So a lot of that has just been through conversations I've had with other people. But to me, like, I need that structure. Before I had that kind of structure, it's real easy to show up at work on a Monday morning and get sidetracked by something that may have materialized over the weekend, or maybe you've got something that you need to tackle. And then the next thing you know, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and all you've done is block and tackle. You really haven't made any progress. So, how I developed that is just really through getting to rub shoulders with some really good originators over the years.
Yeah, and it seems like on the prospecting side, you're doing something really smart. And I find this is common among originators that are performing at a high level, which is you're leaning more into like warmer introductions, mutual connections, as opposed to like this purely cold outreach. Was that something that evolved over time for you? I mean, obviously we all have to start cold somewhere, but how has that evolved, and what does that process actually look like?
When I got first started in this business, I mean, I was just such a rookie. I've said a million times before when I've told this story. I was given an opportunity, and I was told, here's a phone, here's a computer, here's a phone book. 25 years ago, go to work. And like, I was a ready, shoot, aim guy. I'd pick up the phone and call anybody, but I may not have a real effective plan from there. But prospecting it's fun when you do it right. Quite honestly, it's just kind of fun to see yourself have some success when you adopt a strategy that works. Nobody likes to cold call. That's really where it starts. Like that's where most call reluctance comes from, is like you go around the room full of originators and say, hey, who likes to make cold calls? Like nobody's going to raise their hand, right? But if you can learn how to warm up a call, it sure does make that call a lot easier. And we're more well connected now than we've ever been, right? Through the various platforms you may have a profile on, like LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is, you can find those mutual connections. But, for me personally, I like to use the people I currently work with as an opportunity to meet some more people. I think every originator has kind of I don't know if you want to call it an avatar, but that's probably the best way to describe it. Like the ideal real estate agent or whatever type of referral partner it might be, like the ideal person that you work well with, what are they good at? And when you're having conversations with people that you currently work with, they'll be happy to share a name or two of people that they've worked with in the past that maybe they're great at communication or timely with this or great at this. And, like those are the types of people I want to do business with. Would you mind to let them know that I'm going to be reaching out to them, send them a text and just, let them know I'm going to call them. And it's a lot easier to make that phone call when somebody's helped you warm it up just a little bit.
Yeah.
If you have really good partners that you invest in, that you want to help grow, they're going to be more than willing to return the favor.
So you brought up something that I think is really important, which is kind of that ideal profile, right? The ideal customer profile, the archetype, the avatar, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people call it a different thing. But I think it's important that you know what that is. And like how much time have you kind of put into and thought put into developing that? Was that something that just started become obvious over time because you're like, I really enjoy working with so and so, and I work with so and so, and I love them too, and I work with this person, and maybe it's not such a great fit. What makes these two people in common? Like, or was it something that you just put pen to paper down and wrote that out and figured out like these are the people that are for me?
Well, you have to have a lot of conversations to figure out if you can create synergy in a relationship. That goes for, any originator that I may want to bring on staff, or any real estate agent that I might want to work with, or even if it's a financial advisor or something else. You have to talk to figure out if there's really opportunity there. Now, there's a lot of background work you can do now to see how much opportunity is there with, for instance, a real estate agent. Most of us have access to a software platform or two that can help us streamline our sales activities a little bit to make sure that we're calling on agents who actually have the opportunity to send us business, who are working with enough buyers per year that they actually have referral opportunities. But from there, Connor, you literally have to have the conversations. Now, don't get me wrong. Somebody may have a reputation and you may know, like, hey, I don't do business the way this person does business. I don't think we're a good fit together. I'm not ever going to call them. But other than that, it's, if there's opportunity there, you just got to reach out and sit down and have a conversation. And most all of us probably have at least some sort of script, whether it's a loose script or whether you're real rigid with it. You've got some sort of process you follow in those conversations so you can identify if there's opportunity there or not.
Yeah, I think that's so smart. Shooting from the hip over and over and over again will get you only so far, but I think once you're dialed in on who you're for and have that understanding and then just pour into those relationships, that's where I see a lot of things start to really take root and flourish. Now, just to pivot a little bit, let's talk about the operational side of this business because I know, when we spoke, you highlighted operations as like a core strength of where you are and that has allowed you really to sort of scale your business up. How do you personally take advantage of that support so you can stay focused on like the highest value activity?
Yes, I've this comes up in conversations from time to time. Like, what do you love about where you work? And there's a lot of things I love about working here, to be honest with you. But like, I've always thought that if you're going to be a real good mortgage company, the one thing you absolutely have to nail is LOs have to be able to move loans through the pipeline efficiently so that they're not sitting here having to hold their underwriter's hand or hold a processor's hand and be like, what, like, why is this just sitting here? And you have to have this written service level agreement between everybody that's in the supply chain, so to speak. You say, hey, I know what to expect. If I get my job done on the very front end, then everything else should flow just like it's supposed to. And if you can set up your ops structure that way, then it allows me as a member of the sales force to leverage you so that I can have more time to go out and grab the next deal or form the next relationship. And so part of that, for someone who doesn't come from a company that might be that efficient, some of that is you have to learn to let go and you have to build some trust that other people behind you are going to be doing their job, whether you have an LOA on your team or whether it goes straight from you to a processor to an underwriter, whatever that might be. And then you've got obviously larger producers who ultimately learn that if they're going to scale to the next level, that might even mean turning over your inbox to your assistant, which you want to talk about building some trust. I mean, that's a big, big step, right? But ultimately, if you're going to get to a certain point, you understand, hey, if you know your numbers, like, hey, I've got to find some more time in the day. All right, well, where is that time? Well, here's where I'm really getting buried. So I've got to find some help in that area, leverage it so that I can go do what I'm best at and work on building more relationships and getting more deals in the door.
Yeah, I think the leveraging the support. Well, first of all, I just want to call out that the word leverage comes up on this podcast a lot, and I love it because it's very common. It's like part of the language of growing, kind of evolving
It's how
originators.
you grow.
Yeah, they start to see it as, oh, okay, they get it. Like the concept starts to take root. But I think it's so important to be able to lean into what are your highest usage of your abilities and have someone take care of the things that aren't serving your purpose anymore. They need to get done, but you're talented at other things, so why not do the things that you're most talented at more often?
And you can do it without like giving up that personal touch. Some
Hmm.
kickback you might get from some LOs who are used to being knee deep in their files all the time, is, hey, I love being the one who does this, or I love being the one that does that. I'm like, I get it. I totally get it. What if I told you can still build a great relationship, move that file through the pipe efficiently, and have a happy customer at the end of the day when you close that loan? Like, will you just trust me? And sometimes you just have to experience it for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, it's a tough thing. I mean, the commission only job for most people. So there's a lot of like wanting to hold on to every part of it so that it's not so relying on others. And a lot of people want to be that sort of like hero main character, and you do have to let go to be able to sort of multiply yourself. Now, just to kind of pivot a little bit, in the process of sort of doing the things that you're best at and trying to manage, prospecting and production and things like that, there always seems to be maybe one or two things that might get shoved off to the side. And something that we talked about, you were pretty candid about, was for you is content creation and recruiting, right? When things get hectic, like what has taught you about how to prioritize and protect your time for like the growth focused activities and so that you can make time for those?
Well, what has taught me? Well, when you don't see progress in a certain area, that's the ultimate teacher, right? But it's kind of like the LO who gets so busy working files because they're having a super busy month, and then 30 days from then they don't have anything going on because they weren't making their sales calls 30 and 45 days ago to get new leads in the pipe. It's just what's so crazy about the social part, Connor, is everybody knows it needs to be a part of your product, or excuse me, a part of your marketing mix. Everybody knows this. And what's crazy is for me, like being on video took a little bit of getting used to, but for me, I got over that obstacle and got used to it really quick. Video's not hard for me anymore. I do a weekly video that goes out to my realtors, and if you Look me up on Instagram. You'll certainly see plenty of reels on there. And the crazy part is the reels are the easy part for me. What I've found for a lot of people is video is what holds them back. The content creation on social that holds me back is going into a platform like Canva, creating an image or a carousel and posting like that. Just, I'm like, that's the next part for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the next piece of help that I need to leverage. And the ultimate teacher in this business is when you don't see progress in a certain area, you know that you've got to pay attention to some things that are on your calendar and quit negotiating your way away from them.
Yeah, yeah. That's I think that's a great call out. And when I talk to originators, I typically ask a question of like, if you were to hire someone else to support you, what responsibilities would you give them? And I would say about 75% of the time it's social media.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm not surprised by that.
I want someone to just manage that stuff for me so I don't have to do it. I'll get in front of the camera, I'll do the video, but someone else post it, someone else write the post, all that. So it's like it's a big
People have a love. I say people, like not just LOs. I think this is every human beings in general have like this love-hate relationship with social media. Like they want to consume it. They want to consume as much of it as they can at times, but like putting it out there into the atmosphere doesn't always come as easy.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we talked about like measuring progress, and you look at daily and weekly scoreboards instead of just like the closed volume. How do you encourage the loan officers that you work with to define like the right metrics, and what are those right metrics to stay motivated during slower times in the business?
Well, one, if you're not measuring yourself, this conversation gets really hard, right? Now we have to start from scratch. But to kind of go back to where we started here, to use a baseball analogy, what I tried to teach kids growing up is don't focus on the scoreboard. Okay. Or if you want to talk to an LO, like don't focus on the number of loans you closed at the end of the month or the amount of volume you funded. Focus on the process that got you there. Because once we can see the result, we can know if what we're doing is working. Because, LOs will fail for really one of two reasons. Either you're effectively working a bad strategy, or you have a good strategy and you're very ineffective at working it. But you have to be able to measure it somehow. And so if you're not doing things like tracking leads, creating a process for your follow-ups with your pre-approvals. I mean, just a number of things really, post-closing stuff. I mean, all these different things that generate business and can get you to where you want to be on the scoreboard. It's so imperative that you be able to look back and say, here's what I did at the end of the day. Here's the process that got me there. So if my volume last year was 20 million, and if I took in 200 leads and my close rate was 35%, and I want to grow to 30 million, then I know, okay, that's another 10 million in production. I need 100 more leads. That's going to yield me another 35 closings. It's going to get me another 10 million in production. But if you don't measure it, then you can never really look at things that way. And so when you go back to the activities, that's where you say, okay, if I add this much in income producing activities, then I've got to free up X number of hours per week to be able to do that. Where am I going to find that time? So that's kind of the scoreboard I'm talking about. Now, there's another scoreboard, like you could create a scorecard on a weekly basis where, you have Monday, your income producing activities all the way through Friday. And you can just basically check off on how much of that you got finished, which is also a good practice. And I like doing that because in sales, we can have weeks, let's be honest, we can have weeks where it feels like we were super busy and accomplished nothing. When I was younger, and I was probably in my 20s still, be the middle of summer, and I would come home and I'd immediately change clothes and go outside to mow the yard, whether the yard needed to be mowed or not. My wife would be like, what the heck are you doing? And I'm like, babe, I just need to go do something and see the result from it immediately, because I feel like I've been doing all this work and I didn't get anything for it. But if you do all that work and you can look at the scorecard, and you can say, okay, I got 85% of my stuff, my income producing activities done this week, or I did 90% of it, or 100%, whatever it is. You can have that sense of accomplishment knowing, hey, I didn't get the results at the end of the week that I wanted, but I laid the foundation for it and I did everything that I know is going to bring the next deal in the door.
Yeah, I love the scorecard idea. And I've totally been there, right? Like that week that you're just going like nothing's happening. Why isn't it happening? But
Happens a lot in recruiting, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean,
a lot.
anything with an extended sales cycle where it's not instant feedback, I mean, it's one thing to go out and go door to door and sell Girl Scout cookies. Like if you want to feel good in sales, go, put your kids in Girl Scouts and go door to door and sell cookies because you will sell a whole lot just by knocking on your neighbors' doors. It was one of the most rewarding times in sales in my life going door to door with my kids. But, but yeah, anything that's high dollar sales, long sales cycle, slow feedback loop. Yeah, it can gut you because you just don't know if what you're doing is making any sort of impact. So I guess just as we wrap up here, Greg, like I asked you a lot of questions. I just want to give you an opportunity now to just kind of say whatever's on your mind. I don't know if there was a question I didn't ask, something you were hoping to say on this podcast where I just didn't give you the opportunity. But, as we close things out, like the floor is yours, man. Whatever you want to say.
I mean, I just want to express my gratitude to you for taking the time to do this, not necessarily just having me on, although this is awesome, but like creating a forum where originators can just kind of listen to other originators. I think it's one of the great things about the advancement of technology and podcasting is like we get the opportunity like this to just sit back and consume and hear what other people are doing and learn from others. And I think there's probably a lot of LOs out there at some point in their career that have a strong desire to learn, but they may not have a strong desire to really sit down and ask important questions, or maybe even expose a couple of vulnerabilities they may have and admit that they don't know how to do something. Sometimes those conversations are a little bit tough to have and bruise the ego a little bit when you have to humble yourself and say, okay, how are you doing this? Walk me through it. Explain it to me like I'm a 4-year-old. So I appreciate the forum to come on here and visit with you. And I wish I had something like this to listen to 25 years ago when I got started in this business.
Well, hey, I appreciate that, man. And I appreciate you being a part of it and hope that we can get you into some of the communities that we're building here at the Lowdown and all that. And so, but thanks for being a part of this and sharing your wisdom. To your point, hopefully someone out there is going to listen to this, get something really valuable from it, and apply it to their business, and it will make a big difference for them. And hopefully they'll feel encouraged enough to reach out to you and say thanks, and you guys will get a chance to connect as well.
That'll
So
be amazing.
yeah, but Greg, I appreciate you being a part of this, and best of luck to you in the future.
Thanks, Connor. Pleasure to be here.